What's up guys, and welcome back to another comic book review. Today we're going to be looking at the latest issue in Bloodborne, The Lady of the Lanterns. This is issue 2. Before we get into the actual review or discussion, let's get into the comic covers. So we have 4 here today. So we have this one, which is a variant. It's not titled cover A, it's titled Kolinsky and Brad Simpson FOC variant, and obviously on the cover there we have one of the Winter Lanterns in a fiery flame filled background, so that is the variant there. Now onto cover A, we have a similar thing with the flames in the background. We have the cityscape of Yharnam in flames and a hunter with a sword blade attacking something, and you can actually see like the reflection of the flames in the sword, which I thought was really awesome. So there's definitely a style going on here with flames. And opposite to that we have cover B here. Now this is completely different. This shows a hunter facing off against a Winter Lantern in the dark inside a sort of archway, and I really like this one. This is definitely my style, the gothic imagery there with the colours as well. It's very Bram Stoker's Dracula. And then finally we have cover D, which I'm not entirely sure what is going on here. We see a hunter looking down onto the floor into a reflection of blood, of what it seems, and then we see a beast's claws at the top there spiraling around, looking like it's above him. So maybe he's looking down into the blood and the beast is above him about to destroy him. So really awesome covers as per usual. This video is going out a bit late from the release date, but with comics and the way they're shipped these days anyway, a lot of the time they don't come on the release dates anyway. So without further ado, let's get into the actual comic and talk about what happens in it. So one of the things that I've been wanting to see a lot more in these comics so far is just a variety of different monsters and creatures, and we get to see that off the bat. Just in the beginning montage, we see a montage of different beasts just causing havoc in the streets. We see one of the bagmen, which in this one it looks a lot more humanoid. It doesn't look as sort of corpse-like as it does in the game, or it's not hidden. You can actually see the human features on this one. So I'm wondering if this is a time frame just previous to the game's events where things aren't quite as cursed or turned into real beasts. We see a group of dogs devouring a corpse, of which a person is sat around the corner just kind of shaking in fear, as they know they're probably going to be next and they can't do anything to stop it. So yeah, I love this imagery of this montage of just creatures causing havoc. We see a huge gathering in this comic issue as well, with a lot of the surviving members of Yharnam all coming together to kind of pitch ideas about what they're going to do about this whole situation. And it's being fronted by a priest who is wearing one of the familiar robes from the game. I can't remember what it was. I remember my character wore it quite a lot, but he is in charge of kind of keeping this audience at bay and discussing what they should do, and he doesn't seem to be going down so well. Everyone is asking him for the answers and he can't really stop anything from happening, so he is in a bit of a dilemma. So all the people are going to get riled up when things don't work out the way they want them to. So it's the whole sort of gang mentality here, which is understandable in the effects that the city's been taken over by monsters that are devouring people's flesh. One thing I thought was quite interesting in this comic issue is either a misprint or it's sort of well thought out and you can read it however you want, like you do with a lot of Soulsborne stuff, but the text coming from the priest is very faded in comparison to some of the other characters talking. So at first I thought it just might have been like a faded page or two, but it happens on pretty much all the pages that the priest is talking. And if this is a design choice, now my only take on that is, if it is done purposely, is that the priest has kind of lost all hope. He's given up on the idea of things are going to be okay. So it kind of is opposite to the people who are looking for the answers. They're still wanting to find a way out of this, where he's kind of giving up in a way. So if that is done purposely, then I thought it was quite an interesting idea, because it's not something you could just think of. It's something that's had a lot of thought put into it. Father Frederick is the name of the priest, and he awakes in a dream where he is actually in the hunter's nightmare. So we get to see what looks to be Germain's sort of mansion house and all of the cool different flowers, and I'm not sure what the flowers are, but it looks really badass. Probably one of my favourite pieces of artwork in this one, just seeing the purple colours with the gloomy darkness and just this guy waking up in the nightmare not knowing where he is or being surrounded by anyone, although he is being watched by the doll. So this seems to be the one concurrent place that exists in the dream world for everyone who is in Yharnam. I suppose probably people who have an intuition about these kind of things will end up waking up in the hunter's dream. And when he does wake up, we get to see one of the most horrific things I've seen in the Bloodborne, which is something that is very Silent Hill-esque. We see the lantern demon things, I can't remember what they're called, but actually doing something interesting other than just sitting in the lanterns, and they're crawling all over him as he wakes up in his bed, and it's clearly some kind of psychological thing, because I don't think they're really there, but just seeing that happen is pretty horrific, and it just reminded me of the weird zombie children from the first Silent Hill game, and I want to see more of that stuff. I want to see how the psychological effects affect the people, essentially. There's a lot of red colours as well in this one. We see the priest looking back out onto the crowd, and we see all of the people in the crowd actually starting to riot and fight, and the whole thing is casted with a red filter over it, so it's kind of like we're seeing the danger, the outrage, all the things happening is cast through the priest's view of looking out into him and seeing just all the carnage going on. And the priest decides to give it one last shot at trying to calm these people down and giving them some kind of solution or sympathy. And we get another really badass piece of artwork where we see in the silhouette behind the window behind him, a beast is peering in, and this is where all hell breaks loose in this comic. We see beasts left, right and centre just breaking through the glass and devouring people all over the show. So this is the carnage we want to see. Just how did all these people in Yarnum end up being taken care of, turned into beasts and killed? And it seems like a lot of people were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and a lot of them. So we get to see the beasts basically pick them off. They are at a all-you-can-eat buffet of people, so awesome to see just all of the carnage going on. And on the other side of the coin, we actually do see some hunters who are in the crowd already, probably preparing for this, or just there to see the priest and see what he's going to do. But they start to kind of fight back against the beast, where we see a lot of action here, and it really shows us that these hunters actually have a personality and they are their own people. They're not just a walking voiceless NPC from the game like we are. We're seeing these people actually have a bit of banter and a bit of humour about them while they're being badasses, just shooting all these werewolves in the head with their big blunderbusses. It gives us a bit more of a scope to the actual hunters and how they work and how their hunting proceedings go on. So I thought that was a really awesome way to flesh out the characters of the hunters. With this being about the Lantern Lady, we see more of the Lantern Lady and its kind of seductive skills of song to try and lure people into a situation where they're probably going to end up being killed. So we get to see what the Lady of the Lanterns is, more or less, and what its purpose is. And we get to see some winter lanterns in this one as well, as we've seen in all the covers for the previous issue in this one. And you get to see them kind of just creeping up behind people and taking care of them in a very Xenomorph style way, which I think it was translated into a movie or a series in like a really dark gothic way. I think it would be really creepy, and honestly I'd love to see it. And also it has kind of a trance effect on people, so you can see why it'd be so easy for all these people to just be mindlessly killed when they are listening to this ethereal singing, which is taking them out of their own minds, and they're not really thinking about the werewolves that are behind them because they're being lured in. So it's a very interesting way of taking care of business. Fred isn't entirely useless as well in this situation. He has his own one last dance, one last situation to try and help the people, and he does do that, and it is very awesome to see. It's one of those moments where you kind of feel bad for them, but at the same time you know that the thing they have done to face off against these creatures was worth it in the end. So Fred went out like a badass. Bit of a spoiler, but what can you imagine? I won't exactly tell you what happens, but it was pretty rad, and it definitely goes with the theming of some of the comic issues that we've seen for the covers of this one. And this is where we see one of the returning characters from the first issue, or it might have even been the prologue, a character that we didn't really see what happened to them. So it seems like that's going to be the next part of the story, what happens after this. So this could even be an event previous to the first issue. So time is always jumbled up in these comics, I think. Bloodborne's whole effect on time and days and things, just they don't really make sense, and that's perfect. That's what we want. We want the mystery, we want the intrigue. So this has been my discussion review / of issue 2 of Lady of the Lanterns. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Is there anything you thought was really cool in this one if you've read it, or anything that you think you'd like to see in the next issues, or where you think it's all going to end up at, or some of your favourite pieces of artwork from this issue. So thank you all, and I will see you again with issue 3 very soon.